For the research methods in my life project, I decided to focus on poverty and the effects that it has on the family unit. The article that I chose was titled Relationships Among Parents' Economic Stress, Parenting, and Young Children's Behavior Problems. So this article took the topics of financial hardship, stress, parenting behaviors, and child behaviors and compared the relationships among them. Previous to this study, researchers had taken 2 or 3 of these topics and compared their relationships, but this was the first study that compared all of these topics comprehensively. So the researchers focused on the middle-class families during the recession for this study. The middle class was a unique population to focus on for economic hardship studies, but the researchers took the opportunity of the recession to see how these families would react to economic hardship. The purpose for this study was to find interventions that would help families through economic crisis. So the research question that I chose to focus on is there a positive relationship between negative parenting behavior rates and child behavior problems? The independent variable in this was the parent behaviors, and then they wanted to see if those parent behaviors would have an effect on the dependent variable, which was the child behaviors. The researchers' hypothesis in this was that as negative parenting behaviors increased, child behavior problems would also increase. So the sample for this study was 124 parents, 99 of which were mothers and 25 were fathers. All of these parents had children aged 2 to 6. 51% of the sample was Caucasian, and the rest came from ethnically diverse backgrounds. So this sample was a non-probability sample. The participants were selected from the community around a large southeastern university. 22 of these parents came from being recruited from the university newsletter. 93% were recruited by an extra credit research recruitment. And then the other 9 were recruited from private schools in the community around the university. So the measures for this study were all collected through surveys. Both of these surveys were administered to parents, and they were taken either in the presence of a researcher or at home and then mailed in. So the survey for parenting behaviors was called Parent-Child Relationship Inventory, and this survey had subgroups which were support, satisfaction, involvement, communication, limit setting, autonomy, and role orientation. It also had 2 validity subgroups, which were social desirability and inconsistency. That way they could test to make sure the results they were getting were valid. The child survey was titled Child Behavior Checklist. This survey was also taken by the parents, and it was a report on how the child was behaving. Both of these surveys were on the nominal scale. The parent survey was rated on a scale from 1 to 4, 1 meaning strongly agree, 4 meaning strongly disagree. And the child survey was rated on a scale from 0 to 2, 0 meaning not true, and 2 meaning very often true. So the researchers found many connections between the topics in question. Some of these connections were that there was a relationship between economic crisis and stress. When a parent had stress in their life, they were less likely to feel satisfied or supported in parenting, and that in return led parents to be less engaged with their child, and that lack of engagement led to problems in the child's behavior. So kind of in general, they came to the conclusion that parenting stress and behaviors are good interventions to use for parents and families in economic crisis. My critique of this article was that it was decently strong. A few things in particular I felt the researchers could have improved upon were the sample and the administration of the survey. The sample I felt wasn't very representative of the larger population because participants were just selected from the community around a large southeastern university. Attitudes and culture about parenting in that area could vary drastically from the rest of the population of parents of 2 to 6-year-old children. I also felt like the way the survey was administered could have been inconsistent. Just the fact that it was taken both in the presence of a researcher and at home could vary the results that people got because of the pressure that they felt in the presence of the researcher. So I personally felt like it would have been better just to administer the survey through surveys taken at home and then mailed in. A couple things that I thought were really solid about this article were their use of the surveys. Both of the surveys that I analyzed were very reliable and valid, and from that we can know that the results we got are trustworthy. I also thought just the purpose of this research was very positive. From this research, we can help families that are dealing with financial stress and economic hardship. It really provided some good intervention ideas for those families that are struggling with economic problems.